Alaykum wa Rahmatullahi wa Barakatuh. Something about you doesn't quite blend in. You've known it for years, haven't you? In rooms full of noise, your soul listens for something deeper. While others chase what sparkles, your heart aches for something that lasts. It's not because you're strange, it's because you're chosen. You weren't placed on earth at random. There was a meeting in the unseen before your soul entered this world. An agreement, a sacred purpose, a mission that your heart still remembers even when your mind forgets. That pull you feel, that tension between the life you live and the life you know you're meant for, that's the echo of that divine assignment. The one time can't erase. You're not just a person passing through time. You were placed in time to mark it. Something about your existence is supposed to shift the atmosphere. You weren't meant to pass silently through this life like footprints on the shore that the waves will eventually wash away. No, your mark was meant to be carved in the soul of history. And yes, you've been through things that make no sense. But that confusion isn't failure. It's calibration. Allah doesn't send His special ones on straight, paved roads. No, He hides them. He reroutes them. He breaks them in private so He can raise them in strength. People may have overlooked you. Opportunities may have passed you. But that's because the world can't define what it didn't assign. Only the one who placed the treasure in your chest knows when to unlock it. You're not behind schedule. You're on a sacred timeline. Do you feel like your life's been a long preparation for something you can't quite name? That's not your imagination. It's revelation in disguise. The isolation, the delays, the restlessness, they're not punishment. They're the whisper of purpose growing louder. You see, when Allah wants to protect something rare, He hides it. You may think you were forgotten, but in truth, you were covered, kept, preserved. You weren't missing. You are marinating in meaning, and the moment is approaching when the covering lifts, and the world see what Allah saw all along. So many people exist without ever really living. But you're being prepared to live in such a way that your footsteps leave echoes in hearts long after your body has returned to dust. You're not just passing through life, you're supposed to leave a mark that even time can't erase. There's a reason you keep feeling like something bigger is calling you. Like every conversation, every experience, every quiet moment is secretly trying to tell you something. It is. The universe was designed to confirm truth. And if your spirit keeps shaking at the same place, then maybe it's not anxiety, it's recognition. Don't be fooled by the ordinary moments. Prophets were once shepherds, giants were once hidden, and chosen ones are often those who were told they were nothing. But history will never forget those who carried divine fire, even in silence. Maybe that's why you've been set apart all this time. Not because you're broken, but because you're becoming. Still feel like you don't fit in? Good. You weren't made to. You weren't sent here to match the rhythm. You were sent to change it. You were born to leave a legacy that lives long after the lights fade and the stage clears. Keep watching, because soon the patterns will start making sense. And when they do, you'll realize you were never lost. You were just being led. Somewhere along the journey, you started to question everything. Why me? Why this path? Why does it feel like everyone else is moving forward while I keep getting delayed? The truth is, you're not being delayed. You're being aligned. What looks like rejection is often redirection by Allah. Not everything denied to you was a loss. Some of it was divine mercy, disguised as disappointment. You see, when Allah loves a soul deeply, He doesn't rush its unfolding. He protects it from counterfeit blessings. He delays the spotlight so your foundation is built in private. And maybe that's why your name wasn't called when you expected. Maybe that's why your efforts didn't bear fruit when others did. You weren't being punished. You were being protected. from what you asked for too soon, from people who couldn't handle your calling, from platforms not strong enough to hold your weight. There's a beautiful pattern in the lives of those chosen by Allah. He first isolates them, not to break them, but to build them. Look at Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Before he faced Pharaoh, he was sent into the wilderness. Look at Yusuf alayhi salam. Before he entered the palace, he was lowered into a well. Every great mission begins with a great silence. If you've been alone, it's because Allah wanted to be your first audience. Your private tears were the ink for a public legacy. Don't mistake divine filtering for failure. If Allah stripped things away from you, it's because what He wants to give you requires empty hands. You can't hold on to the old and expect to receive the new. And that discomfort you feel, that uneasy sense that something is shifting, that's the tension of transformation. The soul never changes in comfort. You're not just being pulled away from something. You're being drawn into something deeper, something sacred, something eternal. What you're feeling isn't confusion. It's spiritual labor. And labor always precedes birth. You're being pushed into purpose. And isn't it interesting how the more serious you became about Allah, the more things started to fall apart? That wasn't destruction. It was divine construction. The collapse wasn't the end. It was the clearing. Sometimes, Allah has to wipe the slate clean to inscribe a new story, a better story, one that only makes sense when you look back. Have you noticed how your sensitivity increased? How your heart started breaking over things that never touched you before? That's not weakness. That's a sign that your soul is awakening. When Allah wants to use you, He softens you. He breaks the shell so the light can shine through. What if I told you that every unanswered prayer, every ignored effort, every lonely night was seen by Allah and written as part of your elevation? What if all those moments that made you doubt yourself were actually shaping the version of you that the world will soon recognize? Because here's the secret. The deeper you're breaking, the greater you're rising. And no, it won't be flashy. It won't be loud. But when Allah raises someone, no one can bury them. When Allah says now, everything changes, instantly. You were hidden because you carry something that takes time to prepare. You were silenced so you could hear your own soul. And you were delayed because your arrival was never meant to be ordinary. It was always meant to be divine. You thought they rejected you because something was wrong with you. But the truth is, they couldn't recognize what heaven already confirmed. Some hearts are too blind to see light when it wears humility. And that's what you've been walking in. An invisible robe of purpose, heavy with weight that few can comprehend. Do you know why you were misunderstood, misread and mistaken for weak? Because when Allah writes a story that carries eternal value, He hides it behind layers. Not everyone gets access to the early draft of a chosen one. Your life, right now, may feel like scribbled lines, crossed out sentences, and erased chapters. But even this messy middle is a masterpiece in progress. And only Allah sees the final version. Every closed door you cried in front of, every person who made you feel small, every environment that choked your spirit, they were all part of the test. But more than that, they were part of the unveiling. The more the world said, "You're not enough," the more Allah was saying, "They're not your audience." You were never meant to prove yourself to people who didn't have the spiritual lens to see you. They didn't see your worth because it wasn't meant for them. Sometimes Allah will withhold your light from those who would mishandle it. You weren't being overlooked, you were being filtered. Every time you were excluded, it was protection dressed as pain. And yet, you internalized those moments. You wore them like scars. You thought the silence meant abandonment. But Allah was speaking in the quiet. I am here, and I am shaping you. Rejection was never the problem. It was redirection wrapped in love. It was the divine whisper saying, "Not here, not now. I have something better." Have you ever wondered why you could never fully blend in? Even when you tried, something always felt off. That ache, that longing, that awkward stillness when everyone else seems comfortable. It's not social discomfort. It's spiritual distinction. You weren't wired for mediocrity. You were designed for a calling that doesn't make sense to the crowd. And the thing is, chosen ones rarely realize they're chosen during the trial. They don't feel holy. They don't walk around glowing. They feel broken, tired, left out. But that's what the refining process feels like. Diamonds aren't found in clean places. Gold doesn't emerge from comfort. The fire you went through, it wasn't random. It was required. You've mistaken your wounds as signs of weakness. But in the spiritual realm, scars are credentials. What you survived is proof that Allah is still investing in your story. If He were done with you, you wouldn't still feel the weight of purpose. The fact that you still care, still wonder, still long for clarity, it means He's not finished. You're still in His workshop, and that means greatness is still unfolding.
There's something else. The people who walked away from you, they didn't just leave. They were removed. If they had stayed, they would have dimmed your light. Not all who clap for you were meant to rise with you. Some were only meant to trigger the awakening. And look at you now. You've survived storms that should have drowned you. You've walked through fire and kept your soul intact. You've stood in silence while your heart screamed. And yet, you're still standing, still seeking, still breathing purpose. That's not a sign of defeat. That's the beginning of emergence. So maybe it's time to stop mourning what left. It wasn't your loss. It was their inability to honor what Allah had placed inside you. And now, without all the distractions, the masks and the noise, you're finally ready to rise. Not in arrogance, but in clarity. Because now you know, you were never meant to be ordinary. You were born to be set apart. You keep trying to explain yourself to people who were never supposed to understand you. And it's exhausting, isn't it? You shrink your thoughts, dull your light, simplify your speech, just to be accepted in rooms that feel too small for the truth you carry. But no matter how much you bend, it never quite fits. Because the truth is, you were never made to blend. You were made to shine in a different spectrum altogether. There's something rare about your soul, and not everyone can translate its language. You see things others ignore. You feel things they laugh at. You sense shifts in the atmosphere, and your heart moves when nothing visible has changed. That's not confusion. That's spiritual clarity. You're wired differently because your assignment is different. While others are building for comfort, you're craving meaning. While they chase applause, you seek divine alignment. You don't want a loud life. You want a lasting one. And that desire alone sets you apart. Have you noticed how the more you grow, the more things feel uncomfortable? That's not failure. It's expansion. You're outgrowing the version of yourself that was taught to survive by hiding. And now, Allah is calling the real you to the surface, the one He designed before people told you who to be. It's why you've always felt out of place among the average, why the conversations of this world bore you, why temporary pleasures never last long in your hands. You weren't designed for shallow waters. You were born for depth. That's why your soul panics in crowded spaces. It's looking for silence. It's thirsty for the divine. And nothing else can quench that. You carry a type of vision that doesn't come from books or screens. It's a vision that was placed inside your heart by the one who sees all. That's why you notice what others ignore. That's why you speak life into things others walk past.
You weren't sent here to watch the world. You were sent to shift it, even if only slightly, even if quietly. But it comes with a cost. This kind of clarity brings discomfort. It makes you feel like you're always in between, too deep for the shallow, too raw for the polished, too awake to fall asleep again. And that ache you feel, that ache is sacred. It's proof that your soul hasn't been seduced by illusion. People may call you too sensitive, too intense, too idealistic. But Allah calls you aware, present, awake. And being awake in a world that runs on distraction is a painful blessing, but it's still a blessing. It means your soul is still intact. It means your fitra hasn't been smothered by the noise. And maybe that's why you've been kept in quiet places, why your journey hasn't mirrored anyone else's. Allah doesn't copy-paste greatness. He custom builds it. And for souls like yours, the process is slower, deeper, harder, because the impact will be greater. This is not about arrogance. It's about awareness. It's about recognizing that what Allah placed in you wasn't ordinary. And if He made you different, it's because He needs something different from you. You are not a mistake. You are not extra. You are not too much. You are exactly what this world needs, but maybe not in the way the world expects. So if you're still walking alone, if your name still hasn't been called, if your voice still trembles when you speak truth, don't panic. That's how most chosen ones begin. The early stages of greatness are often disguised as loneliness. But remember this: even the stars are silent while they burn with brilliance. Just because no one claps doesn't mean heaven isn't watching. And sometimes, it's better to be hidden in Allah's gaze than be known by a world that doesn't see souls clearly. You were born to leave a mark, not just to exist. And that mark starts forming the moment you stop apologizing for being different and start owning that you were made for more. Everyone wants to be remembered, but not everyone is building a life worth remembering. Most chase moments, attention, applause, but you've never been satisfied with temporary recognition. There's something inside of you that refuses to settle for a life that ends when you do. That's because your soul knows. You weren't sent to be loud. You were sent to be lasting. Chosen ones think in terms of legacy, not popularity. You don't need everyone to see you. You just need Allah to be pleased with you. Because when He is, your impact carries through time, quietly, powerfully, eternally. The names you remember in dua: Khadija, Abu Bakr, Bilal, Aisha, none of them chased fame. They just obeyed. They just loved deeply, gave purely, walked sincerely. And their names still move us centuries later. What if your story is meant to be one of those? What if your consistency in private, your tears in sujood, your refusal to quit, is being written in the records of the unseen? What if you are leaving a trail, not in this world's spotlight, but in the heavens, where real legacy is documented? That's why the pressure is so real. That's why the trials feel heavier on you than others. You're not building a moment. You're building a mark, and when Allah uses someone to leave a mark that even time can't erase, He doesn't rush it. He doesn't make it easy. He refines, purifies, tests, and strengthens. Not to crush you, but to make your roots unshakable. The thing is, no one else sees that process. They'll only see the fruit, but you'll know. You'll know what it cost you to carry it. The silent sacrifices. The nights you doubted your own reflection. The days you kept walking with no sign of arrival. That's the price of building a legacy in the unseen. And maybe that's why your life never fit into neat categories. Maybe you were always being prepared for something that isn't even about you, but about the souls your life will touch. Souls you may never meet. Lives you'll never know you've changed. And that's the beauty of it. Legacy is not always visible, but it's always powerful. So stop measuring your worth by how many see you. Some of the most remembered people were once invisible to their generation. Allah didn't choose them because they were loud. He chose them because they were true. And now, He's calling you to do the same, quietly, faithfully, completely, to leave behind a trail of light that even the darkness of this world cannot cover. If you've made it this far, it's not because you had free time. It's because something inside of you was looking for confirmation, and deep down, you already knew. You've always known. The strange timing, the unexplained longing, the setbacks that didn't make sense, the hidden strength you discovered after every breakdown. None of it was accidental. It was Allah showing you that you were never walking an ordinary path. You were never just another soul passing through this world. You were entrusted with something sacred, something only your hands, your voice, your story could carry. And maybe that's why life had to shape you so carefully. Why you had to lose certain things before you gained yourself. Why you had to walk away from places that no longer matched your soul. Because chosen ones aren't built in comfort. They're carved through struggle, through silence, through nights when the only one who heard your cries was Allah. And even then, especially then, He was shaping you for what's next. This video wasn't just a coincidence on your screen. It was a reminder that despite the noise of this world, despite the confusion that sometimes clouds your heart, there is a reason you're still breathing. There is something only you can do, a mark only you can leave, a version of yourself that is still becoming. And now you're closer than ever. So before you go, bow your heart, not just your head. Let this moment be your pause, the one where you breathe, realign, and return to the one who created you with precision and intention. Let us end with this dua. Ya Allah, you are the turner of hearts. Turn our hearts completely towards you. Make us among those who do not fear being different when you have called us to be distinct. Strengthen us in private, raise us in sincerity, and protect us from every path that was never written for us. Let our legacy be light. Let our voice echo only truth. Let our footsteps leave traces that lead others to you. And when our time here is done, let us return to you, pleased, purified, and whole. Ameen. You weren't called to be popular. You were called to be purposeful. So walk forward, quietly but boldly. Your time has come.